quite frankly, if an AI can do that to the same or better standard than a human, well, fairly self-evidently, you're probably going to go, yeah, let the AI get on with that. But the fact is, of course, that it's not going to do everything.
Do you think we'd be able to, in 12 months' time, do you think we'd be able to interview Andrew Bruce Smith's AI synthesized person without? Do you think that will already be there? And,
yes.
And I'll be able to, Will and I will be able to grill an AI version of you, and it'll be more entertaining than you.
Imagine being caught in a meeting when you're the only human.
Oh, that's happened. That's already happened. That's already happened. People turn and go, I'm the only person here.
Hello and welcome back to Embracing Marketing Mistakes, the podcast where we unpack the mistakes from the world's top marketers and the lessons that they learn. I'm your host, Chris Norton, and today I'm joined once again by Andrew Bruce Smith, an expert in AI and how it applies to PR and communications. We look at the fast-moving world of AI and how reasoning models are transforming marketing, from AI avatars to the ethical implications. We cover it all, and you won't want to miss it. So, as always, sit back, relax, and let's get into the wild, crazy world of artificial intelligence. Enjoy.
Andrew Bruce Smith, friend of the show. And how many appearances is this now? 3?
I believe this is the 3rd time you've had me back. Yes. Gosh.
You've beaten Stuart Bruce. He'll be fuming.
Thanks for having me back.
Okay, so I mean, you're the AI comms expert, and so much. I mean, this is what's great about this subject matter. So much has changed, and even in the last 12 months, hasn't it? I mean, it's just mind-boggling how much has changed. So, what do you think has been the biggest changes we've had in AI practically that have made a difference, other than, you know, all this ethics stuff that everybody's talking about left, right, and centre? I'm looking at the practical things that we think has changed and improved in the last 12 months.
Well, I guess we talk about the last 12 months. It feels like what's happened in the last 12 minutes. I used to joke last year when I was running sort of training sessions that things I would say in the morning wouldn't be true by the end of the session at the end of the day. And this year it's happened 3 times where I said with great confidence that, oh no, it can't do that. And then literally by the end of the day, it's like, oh, well now it can. So that I think is an indication of how ridiculously fast things are moving on. To kind of, you know, simply kind of categorize what do I think of the big developments over the last 12 months or even I guess 6 months really. Well, first of all, the rise of the reasoning model. You know, we learned over the last couple of years that when you ask language models you give them more time to think, they tend to come back with a better quality response. So now having access to AI models that has that kind of capability built into them. So obviously ChatGPT 01 was the first flavor of that came out last September. I mean, now they're 10 a penny. Everyone's got a reasoning model. Google Gemini's reasoning. Claude's got reasoning. ChatGPT's now got 5 different flavors of reasoning. You know, it's got 03 Pro, 03, 04, whatever. So that, in the sense, from a practical standpoint, I mean, there's so many kind of use cases in marketing, comms, and PR. Yeah, having a model that is capable of spending more time thinking through its options, considering its options, leaving options out. In the case of ChatGPT, it's also got some agentic capabilities, agentic AI, buzz phrase of AI, this 2025, where it can decide to use certain tools to kind of execute the task. You know, using a reasoning model. Reasoning models are better at being given something kind of complex to think about. So that usually is something like, help me develop a really robust plan. So it actually goes off and spends time thinking about, okay, if that's the client, if that's the prospects and those are the outcomes they're looking for, and oh, that's the relatively small budget they've given you, square that circle for me, or at least apply a kind of highly sort of thought through process to it that gives me a starting point. And being able to see the thought process, yeah.
From a user perspective, then reasoning models mean better results and more complex queries are solved. Is that fair? I
think the nuance, and this comes all the time, is you've now have to kind of think, well, what am I asking it to do? And is a reasoning model the best flavor to use, or should I stick with a vanilla helpful assistant? So, you know, GPT-4o is a helpful assistant, i.e. you ask it to do something and 2 seconds later, there's its response. But it's a bit like the human. If I ask you for your immediate knee-jerk response to something, you'll give it to me, but that's not necessarily maybe if it's a complicated thing, you should probably take a bit more time to think about it. At the same time, giving a reasoning model a trivial task, well, that's pretty pointless because it'll take like half an hour to do it. It's like, that should take 5 seconds. Well, don't give that to a reasoning model, or it'll overthink it. It literally will overthink its response to a relatively trivial thing. So getting that balance between when do I stick, it's the trade-offs of, is this something that I need like now, and that particular flavor of model is going to do the job, versus I'm happy to wait 30 minutes if it means it goes off, thinks about it properly, and comes back to me with a much better response after 30 minutes than what I would have got after 30 seconds.
Yeah, because I would say what it is. So we're essentially talking about the deep research functionality that's been launched on numerous platforms. Is that fair?
Not quite.
Kind of. Not quite.
Well,
go on then.
Well, that'll be my next sort of point to make. So deep research is a kind of a simple flavor of agentic AI. It's where you give your deep research tool, which again, they're 10 a penny now. You give it a research task. I don't know. Let's say you've got a new business brief in. So naturally you would want to, I assume, research the prospect's marketplace, or what have they done regarding marketing, whatever. So it doesn't matter which research tool you're using, whether it's ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Grok, whatever. It will always come back and try and clarify and understand what exactly you're after here. It doesn't just go off and do it. It says, look, can I just clarify, what are you after here? You tell it, and then off it goes. But it's got a degree of autonomy of deciding, well, where does it go? What does it look at? What information sources will it consider in terms of the response it gives back to you? And quite often it will consult a bunch of stuff and go, no, I'm not going to use that. So that, again, there's a whole spectrum. Perplexity AI in the free version gives you 5 deep research requests a day for nothing. Great. Free. Hurrah. But it's not as detailed as ChatGPT deep research, which would go off and maybe spend sometimes 40, 50, maybe an hour. Really kind of like trying to do a thorough job of finding every single kind of source, digging deeply, and then giving you back typically, quite often some 55-page dossier, but all the sources are fully cited. So you can check yourself to go, yeah, that looks good to me. Or hang on a minute, I don't like those. Those look pretty dodge. So do it again. This time, leave that out. So it's all about the clarity that you have about exactly what you want the tool to go off and do, and you kind of briefing it, and off it goes.
Yeah, because I would say that any marketer now you can basically commission your own dissertation into whatever it is you're trying to do. And that, I don't think people realize that.
No, I'll give you one example. So, I won't mention the brand, but let's say, I was having a conversation with the European marketing director of a huge drinks brand. While I was having the conversation, I thought, I'm going to set my deep research agent off to research this brand's kind of approach to marketing over the last 15 years. And before the call finished, I said, hang on, I've got this for you. And I emailed it, I sent it to him. And he's like, good grief, this is brilliant. He said, where did you get this from? I said, I literally commissioned it whilst we've been talking. It was a kind of 45-page detailed document and he's like, he said, my mind is blown. He said, this is the sort of thing I would have, maybe got an ad agency, a marketing agency, commission them to kind of do this. And it would have taken weeks and cost me tens of thousands of pounds. You're telling me that you literally pushed a button on, and I think I used, it was Google Gemini, actually. Yes. Cause that's why if it's ChatGPT, I would have to send it to after the call because it would take a bit long to do it. But this is Gemini, and he was bowled over. He was just like, this is crazy.
And then you could have just used it like for that. You could say, and then you could ask it to look at that PDF and then compare its direct competitors and pick holes in the market and what opportunities are in the market.
When you consider the kind of the workflow you can put together, the brief comes in, Maybe you get the reasoning model to assess the brief. You've got using deep research tools to research the brand, the competition, the marketplace, previous approaches to kind of marketing, messaging, all of that. That becomes then context for you to then respond to the brief. But I keep reminding people, it's not about pushing a button and it does it all for you. It is much more about how do we get to the point in the process that previously would have taken us, I don't know, a week or two, and actually we can get to here in maybe half an hour. And now we've got a lot more time for us to bring our own kind of human experience and expertise to the party that, let's be honest, I think everyone's moaned about forever. It's like, oh, if only we had more time, we would have more creative brainstorms. We would spend more time, thinking strategically and whatever. Well, hey, that opportunity now is definitely kind of coming to the fore if you are utilizing the technology that is available today in the right way.
I think, when we first had you on the show, when was that? 2 years ago, 18 months, 2 years ago. I think anecdotally, a lot of the kind of conversation, certainly amongst agencies around the use of AI, is that, often it would be inaccurate. There'd be examples of hallucination. If you get it to come up with copy or something, it's obviously AI. How's that changing, and how's that changed? Where are we at now?
Well, see, it was true even then that was largely down to the fact that just people weren't using the tools properly. Well, again, if you consider that until last year, your reasoning models didn't exist, but helpful assistants designed and built to give the most likely response, the average, the mean. Of course, a lot of the time in comms, you don't want the average, you want above average, you want difference, you want creativity. So that's partly just people not realizing you have to ask and brief it, or be aware that there are certain tools where there's a thing called a temperature control. So the concept of temperature with AIs it's where you give permission to the model to consider less likely tokens in the sequence, or as I describe it, it's how many drinks do you give the model before you ask it to respond? And again, just like a human being, if you give it too many drinks, you literally get back literal nonsense. But if you set it at about the right, it says, hey, look, I'm telling you, you don't have to give me the most likely response. I'm giving you permission to go off piste. I'm giving you permission.
Is that through is that through a text prompt?
Settings?
No, it's a setting. Yeah. There are certain tools. So if you have to use any of the kind of API consoles for any of the platforms, so ChatGPT's API platform, or Google AI Studio, one of my personal favorites. If you go to AI Studio, on the right-hand side, there it is. There's a temperature control. So if you slide it to 0, you're saying, look, I want you to give me. I don't want you making stuff up. I don't want you going off piste. Stick to the facts. Go the other way. In this case, I want creativity. I don't want the norm. I don't want what everybody else is getting. Slide it up towards 2. If you put it to 2, it is literal nonsense. So it's like, I've had 15 cans of Stella and I've gone off I've gone gaga. So I think back then it was largely just people didn't know. And it's still, I think that's still quite true, actually, that this is assumption. Well, we're giving you all this amazing AI technology. It's obvious, isn't it? Get on with it. And it's like, well, it isn't.
I was sharing in the team the other day, so we've got an AI committee here where we share best practice and things. Some of the videos coming out of Google with AI generated video now is incredible. It's nondescript. You can't tell the difference.
Well, it's VO3. VO3, which came out a couple of weeks ago. Well, the fact that it generates video and audio at the same time. I mean, you could just give it a prompt and say, I want this scene of two people and here's the dialogue. Give it to me. And it does. I mean, some of the VO3 stuff that's on YouTube, just go, that is just mind bending when you consider how far that's advanced in literally a year or so. And it's the cliche. It's the worst they're going to be. It's only going to get better.
What are you doing currently then with clients? Are you running AI workshops in general? Or are you like helping them to break down the processes and use the various models at different stages of the process?
So all of the above. It's almost like being a kind of quasi management consultant where, yes, you can go in and say, hey, in-house comms team or agency team, here's a whole sort of panoply of tools and these different use cases. And this tool is really very good for doing this. And, that might be enough. People go, well, brilliant. We can do it all ourselves now. Or, actually, can you help us to actually, implement this, particularly with in-house, teams? One of the interesting things I've discovered, of course, is that you always have to and should involve the IT department. So in certainly bigger organizations, what you find is that the AI is seen as a technology decision. So IT is told, right, you figure out what tools we're going to buy for, the marketing department or the comms team. And with respect, IT departments themselves don't have AI expertise either. They're learning as much as anybody else. So a common reaction is to go, well, we'll just say no until we kind of figure out the right way or the right tools. And again, different departments don't realize often that IT's got all these responsibilities around data governance, GDPR compliance, etc. I had a situation a couple of days ago with a large in-house marketing team, and very rightly, because I suggested it, we had the head of IT sitting on the call because he could actually answer questions people had. And people say, Copilot. Why have only a few of us got Copilot? Why can't we all have it? And I said, well, I have a suspicion. It's because, do you know what it's going to cost? So the IT director says, yeah, okay. And he kind of said, if we give Microsoft 365 Copilot to literally everybody in the marketing department, we're looking at a couple of $100,000. It's like, what? He said, if you want that to come out of your budget, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
But if it's coming out of IT, it is not.
It's not cheap.
I don't care what anybody says. Just for 365, that extra £30 per user per month, that soon adds up.
And you have to pay it up front as well. You have to pay for the year up front, all in one go.
I think they've modified it. You don't have to pay up front, but you have to commit to an annual contract. So they're saying, you can pay monthly, but you're still going to end up paying at least $360 or £360 per person on top of your existing, 365 lives. So, yeah. So cost wise, you can see why, people aren't just universally kind of letting people have it. On the other hand, you can't deny, given so many, shops are Microsoft shops, from a kind of safety standpoint, it does give people a confidence and comfort that, we can let people loose on using confidential internal information with Copilot. We're not concerned about, it sort of, ending up in the wrong place. The great irony, of course, is that ChatGPT runs on Microsoft servers. So it's all going the same place anyway, but there we go.
It does. And I don't think Will's aware of this. So I'm going to share this because this is the bit that's, pardon my French, I'm not going to swear. It's blowing my mind, right? We talk about blowing. So people listening to this, if they're thinking, okay, I'm up on AI. Okay. Are you aware then, people, of ChatGPT connectors? Connectors. And you're all going, what's that? Sounds dull, right? Well, I'll tell you what you can connect to ChatGPT now. Box, Dropbox, GitHub, Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Drive, Linear, Outlook Calendar, Outlook Email, Teams, and SharePoint. So, but literally everything that you use at work and HubSpot, which we use as our CRM, is all connectable to your ChatGPT to use as sources for research now with your, as I said earlier, your dissertation in your pocket. That PhD, intelligent little robot man or woman running off into the sunset can now access all your emails, all your meetings, if you give it the connections. Is that correct, Andrew?
Yeah. And let's not forget Claude does the same. Through MCP, it can. So this is a general trend now that the ability to kind of, point the AI at literally any kind of data source, technically is available. It is much more I can do it, but hang on a minute. What happens if, I point at my internal confidential drive and yes, it's accessing it and using it. what's OpenAI doing with that? I mean, yes, I could have gone in and it's my data controls and flick the switch to say, no, I don't want to improve the model for everyone.
I've done that, people. I've done that.
The glorious euphemism. Yes. Oh, yes, it's great. It's a selfless act, keep it on and share everything with us so we can, use that to improve the next version of GPT. So yeah, I think again, this is coming up more and more where the actual technological capabilities are just off the scale and continue to advance every single day. And our ability just to even comprehend the possibilities, but also, how do you sort of go, well, great, we could just get on with it. But that would probably be a bit risky if we potentially exposing ourselves to some risk by, not having the necessary kind of data governance and whatever else kind of protocols in place. So there's this kind of there's this tension between typically, say a marketing or comms team going, oh, but I want to do all this stuff and I want to do it now. And IT going, well, we don't want to be blockers here, but look, seriously, we can't just let you run off and do that.
Because hang on, because just about this, because if you imagine you've connected it to your email, this is the worrying thing. So let's say Will and I go, Will goes, oh, this is great. Let's connect it to my Google Calendar because I always double book myself. Heart jokes. And off it goes now I can interrogate, I could use ChatGPT. As a business, you're not worried that whoever, let's say someone in marketing connects their emails. Does that mean everybody on the ChatGPT in that private network can suddenly ask questions about that person's emails? Does it give there's so many ethics there about, you talk about data security, but suddenly can you access them?
But to be fair, this is the Microsoft, kind of message, which is, look, if you go the Copilot route, see, this is why IT departments like Copilot, because it puts a lot more kind of centralized control. IT can say, right, we decide, who gets to access what. We decide, we can set it up so that, you can see all the calendars because of your role and responsibilities, but other people can't just willy-nilly go off and look at other people's calendars, emails, or whatever else. So I kind of get that, but that then creates the whole sort of, gosh, how do you sit down and figure that out? How do you work out, who gets what? Why should they get that? And then coming the other way, when people start to realize, oh, we can just go to IT and ask them, we've seen that these custom co-pilots are brilliant. I want one of them. Can you like turn that on for me? And that depends, of course, whether the organization has actually paid the license to allow those functions and those features to be enabled. Because fair enough, Microsoft's a business, so it's naturally going to say, oh, you want all that? Sure. And here's the price tag if you want all those features and capabilities enabled. But but you can see that, sorry, I was going to say the general thrust of it all is clearly a world where literally anything that you want to be accessible as kind of context to interact with a particular tool is, I say technologically, it's, if you want to do it right now and you want to do it, just do it. That isn't the issue. The issue now is more about how do you do that in a way that is safe and mitigates risk.
You're speaking to all sorts of organizations, and we're obviously we're viewing this through a marketing lens, given that it's a marketing podcast. But which departments, I suppose, in a corporate are you seeing are getting the maximum benefit from this? Obviously marketing are using it. We know that. Legal, finance, ops. Where else are you seeing this being kind of rolled out with big benefits?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is true now. That there probably isn't any department within an organization that isn't in some shape or form using AI. I'd still argue that on the whole, it is still pretty unsophisticated. I keep reminding myself, I start to think, oh, surely everyone knows this. Isn't it obvious? Well, clearly it isn't. If I'm demonstrating to people, look, if you use a reasoning model and people go, oh, what's that? So, well, you need to understand the difference between these two different flavors of model. And if you use a reasoning model, these are the sorts of use cases that you can put it to. People go, oh, really? Wow, that hadn't occurred to me. Well, why would it? Until somebody suggests that's the sort of thing you can do. Imagine getting a reasoning model to develop a highly detailed persona or representation of an audience that you're targeting. Then you're getting it to put itself in the shoes of that person, that audience. Ask it to develop 1,000 messages. Ask it to then rate and rank those messages on the basis of, will they resonate with that kind of person? Are they more likely to encourage the outcome you're looking for? Back it comes, and you say, well, explain how you arrived at that. Explain your scoring rubric, which it does, and you yourself can just judge. Does that sound sensible? And then after a very brief period of time, you suddenly go, wow, I've got this massive AI brain to assist me in developing a messaging and a plan, allocation of resources, allocation of budget, recommendations on how to go about creating the content. Oh, by the way, now all these AI tools to assist me with developing the right sort of modalities. That's the buzzword about of the day.
Has there ever been research on the effectiveness of AI used to develop marketing or creative messaging versus the purely human route?
Well, Adobe are doing it all the time at the moment.
I mean, I'd be fascinated to know, is it as good as a very creative human?
If done right, yeah.
Yeah. Or, okay, I guess I think the nuance is that can it be creative enough that what it allows you as the human being to allow you to get what you're after within the constraints everybody faces of time, of access to resource, of budget. We all know everyone everywhere is being told to do more with less. It's the constant refrain that there's ever increasing expectations and pressures on, certainly marketing departments and agencies. Everyone's being told we need to do more, but you're not getting more budget. You're probably getting at best the same as you had built before, but we expect to get more from it. So how do you square that circle? As I say, informed and intelligent, use of AI can go a long way to helping to achieve that.
Can I ask a question? So because we on this committee, I've used all of them, and do use all of them. I'm a full pro user of ChatGPT. I've got Copilot. And Copilot for me is pretty good, but it's adding stuff to itself all the time. But then there's still bits of ChatGPT it doesn't do. Copilot
is GPT under the hood, but you're never going to get the latest versions of GPT. Yeah. And there's always going to be stuff that will be in ChatGPT that isn't in Copilot.
But the difficult thing that I've got, and I've heard people debating this, is that ChatGPT has got too many models. There's about 9. Yeah. Is it more than 9 now? So it's like is it 8? So it's like going to Google and having 8 different tabs.
Yeah, there's a great cartoon meme of the superhero sweating, and then he looks at all these buttons. They're all the different versions of it. It's like, oh God, which one should I be using? Because they don't. I mean, they've admitted it. Sam Altman said, he says, yeah, you're right. Our naming conventions, this is all nonsense. Ultimately, they've said there will be a single model. And you won't need to worry about all these different flavors. I mean, if you look at Claude, the Claude approach is an indicator. So with Claude, they don't have a separate assistant and reasoning model. There's a single model. And if you want reasoning, there's a little toggle and you turn it on. If you don't want reasoning, you don't turn it on. So I think I think that's a more kind of user friendly kind of, way of achieving the same end, as opposed to you putting the burden on the user knowing, oh, look, yes, I should be using ChatGPT 4.5 for that, because that's the right one to use for that. And yes, I should be using O3 Pro for that, and so on. So, yeah.
I suppose, I think we asked you this the first time round when we had you on the show. There'll be people listening to this that are quite sophisticated and do get it. And I think naturally, the more you use AI tools, the more you understand the language, you understand the conventions of how they work. But equally, there'll be our listeners thinking, Christ, I need to get on top of this stuff. I've used ChatGPT a couple of times. What are the 3 kind of essential tools then? Cutting through all the bullshit, cutting down to those essential tools that people need to be using.
If I had to really kind of distill it down to the handful, then, to be honest, you've got to have access to at least one kind of foundation model, whether it's GPT or Claude or Gemini. I personally, if people push me and say, look, just give me one, at the moment, I'd probably err towards Google and Google AI Studio, partly because, Gemini 2.5 is a very, very impressive model. To get slightly technical about it, it still has, well, it might change in the next 5 minutes, but as I speak now, I think I'm right. It's
changed. It's changed already.
That's it. Sorry. It's wrong. You're wrong.
Podcast.
You're already wrong. It's got the biggest context window. So it's got a 1 million token. So you can 750,000 kind of words of content. Of course, it's multimodal. So, you can give it a video and say, analyze a video. Imagine you've got a client who's appeared on a TV broadcast and say, right, analyze that video from the perspective of a member of the target audience. What do you think they think of that spokesperson's? Do you think we got the messaging across both explicitly and implicitly? And it does it. It's nuts. Because you thought, is it just analyzing the audio? It's like, no. That's what it used to do. Now it understands it as 24 frames per second video. It understands the entities, it's crazy. And you can do the same for audio, etc. So yeah, AI Studio, I think, and it's free. Well, it's free to a point. So you're getting access to all of the latest and greatest AI models. You can use the multimodal feature. You can talk to Gemini. You could share your screen and say, "Hey, Gemini, I can see my screen." Yes, I can. Oh, I've got our homepage up there. Got any tips? Take on the role of a world-class, web design expert and give me some sort of recommendations about how we should tweak that. And it talks to you and tells you, oh yeah, I think the color contrast, from an accessibility standpoint, you might want to reconsider the cut. It's like, what?
It's the whole thing is mental, right? Are we just, like, people saying we're taking, I mean, it's really exciting, but are we just talking ourselves? I hate this debate about talking yourselves out of jobs, but the more you talk about it, you're like, okay, I'm in house. I can now do persona marketing. I can now do, you know what I mean? You can do everything in house pretty much, can't you?
Yes and no. I mean, because again, the bits that's missing from all this, of course, is the experience, and the expertise, of the human being. I've said this for a long time that for agencies, of any kind, what is going to be the value that you're bringing to the party? I think that sort of in-house trend of more and more work moving in-house, because in-house teams feel that, well, we're capable of doing it ourselves because we don't need an external agency to help us with that. And just a kind of changing nature of what is still left to do for the agency. What will clients regard as valuable and still need and be prepared to pay for? Because of course that's the big thing, is that you've got to do stuff that is valued to the extent that the appropriate price is paid for it. We've seen this last 2 years. I thought we'd see more of it where clients might go, well, you know what? Why does it take you 4 hours to do something? Paying by how much time it takes to do it. I'll pay you for 5 minutes. Surely it should take you 5 minutes with AI. So I'll pay you for 5 minutes, but I'm not paying you for 4 hours.
We're not endorsing that approach on this podcast, Andrew.
No, but I'm just saying but we've had the debate about the move from time-based billing to value-based billing for decades. I'm not saying it's easy but nevertheless, that transition, I think at some point is going to have to come. And I think we are starting to hear more and more in-house teams and clients going, yeah, why am I paying 4 hours to do that? Surely it should. But it's the Whistler's mother analogy, isn't it? James Whistler, the American painter, was asked, whenever it was, Victorian times, how long did it take to paint that picture? He said, 2 days. How much do you think it's worth? And he said, I know, $10 million, which back then was like $1 billion. And they're saying, how can you possibly justify that? It's like, you're not paying me for the 2 days it took to paint it. You're paying me for my lifetime of and all the pain and sweat and tears that I've gone through. There's no way I could have painted that picture in 2 days without all this other stuff. So that's why it has that price tag. And I guess in a similar vein, how do you demonstrate that, yeah, well, the reason why we can do this in 5 minutes isn't because I just pushed a button, or, yeah, I can just push a button, in which case, why do you need me? Because you could automate that. It's the bit that you don't know about, you don't see, it's we've thought about what we should be asking the model to do for us, or the model can help us get to here, but it can't do everything. And it needs both us and it to give you, clients, this, which, is very valuable to you. So, yeah.
So if you are setting up a brand today, or a marketing team even, would you start with an AI consultant to go in and say, right, how could we build this team upwards to future-proof ourselves and just look at the processes, and maybe we don't need, it's not necessarily less jobs, it's how can we future-proof the business to have a marketing team that's great work?
I know some people think it's a bit of a kind of over-optimistic view, but I kind of figure that well, why should it be like this? I mean, I think it was Sam Altman said, look, it's not about replacing jobs. It's about replacing tasks, or rather, AI is actually very, very good at doing certain things. So quite frankly, if an AI can do that to the same or better standard than a human, well, fairly self-evidently, you're probably going to go, yeah, let the AI get on with that. But the fact is, of course, that it's not going to do everything. So yes, that person who once upon a time would have done this, this, and this, now is only left with this. Well, the decision is, well, do you need that role at all? Or that time, that time that's now freed up is used and applied to different things. So, for example, we're hearing more and more about, we're all turning into managers. Because effectively, if you don't consider GPT as a tool, it's another colleague. So how do you manage and orchestrate your newfound, AI colleagues to support you? So I think that's an interesting one, because it says, well, actually, yeah, maybe even junior members of staff now need to start thinking more kind of managerially. Whereas in the past, you would focus on doing what you do versus actually, I've already got a bunch of even more junior, but very bright, and willing, additional sort of co-workers here. So, how can I get my cohort of AI co-workers to help me do what I'm being asked to do? So I think that's a kind of a little thing to consider there.
The Christmas party is going to be a bit shit though, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. You could depends how you train your AI avatars. They might be a laugh. Let me put the
Christmas jokes.
I can, yeah. Oh, they'll be dead good at the karaoke. Yeah,
yeah, get it verbatim.
You'll have a Suno backed AI avatar that will be able to kind of sing any karaoke track in any style you feel like it.
So, do you think we'd be able to in 12 months' time? Do you think we'd be able to interview Andrew Bruce Smith's AI synthesized person without? Do you think that will already be there? And, yes. And I'll be able to. Will and I will be able to grill an AI version of you, and it'll be more entertaining than you. What do you think?
Well, I could be wrong on this one, but I mean you've got the AI avatar tools like Syntesia and HeyGen, so. Well, I've got my own AI avatar, which I routinely now use when people say, "Oh, if you're speaking at a conference or an event, you always get asked today, could you just do a quick 30-second promo little video to promote the event?"
Nice.
And you're going to get it makes it sound like, I just whip out my phone and I seamlessly kind of say what I need to say, and it takes 30 seconds, and I send it off to him. It's like, no, I've got to think what I've got to say, and then do I get it in one take? No, I don't. It's going to take me probably an hour or so to get something that's even vaguely usable. And you think, that's actually a lot of time just to generate that little, get my avatar, give it the script, push the button. There you go. Job done.
So have you appeared in places as an AI then, rather than a person?
Have you not been seeing me on my avatar on LinkedIn recently? Every event I do, I use my avatar to promote it. Yeah,
I'm going to check it out. I haven't seen it. I don't know how I've missed that.
Well, you see, because you didn't realize it was an avatar. I always self-declare the fact that this isn't me. This is my AI AI avatar, but I look forward to seeing you in person at the real world event. But to answer your question, yeah, definitely. Because we've got to that point where the avatars are available. If the next step is simply, well, can we just take those avatars and turn them into kind of, real time interact? We can do it with voice now. If you've got 11 labs, it takes a minute to create a conversational interactive voice agent. Well, think about things like media training. You can create interactive voice agents based on a certain journalist and say, right, here's the profile of the journalist. They're going to really kind of pressure you, and you just talk to it, and it talks back, and you have an interaction. So you already got that in voice. So that the components, I think, are already there. Zoom has already announced that they're going to make available the ability for you to have your own AI avatar participate in Zoom meetings. God! They announced that at the end of last year. I think they were due to launch it. Yes, well, I think that's it. But I think we've gone slightly too far. I think that's because that's addressing the wrong problem. The problem is we've got too many meetings. That's a solution that says, oh look, you've got 10 meetings to go to, so you can't go to all of them. Hey, look, you can send your avatar to 9 of them, the other 9, and you can pick the one you want to go to. And then you send your avatar off to join it.
Imagine being caught in a meeting when you're the only human and there's 9 other avatars.
That's already happened. That's already happened with people. People don't go, I'm the only person here. The rest are all AIs. Nobody else can be bothered to turn up. They've set their avatars instead. Or their AI, they are a meeting assistant said, I'm the chump, the chump left talking to myself.
To be honest, a lot of the time, the avatar would probably do a better job than us. So, fair play.
Yeah.
Has your AI not gone rogue, or does it completely stick to the task?
I haven't yet experienced my avatar kind of saying anything inappropriate or it shouldn't. But I guess that, in all seriousness, that is an inherent concern about the rise of AI agents. Yes, there's lots of excitement about, oh, great, the agent can go off and do all this stuff and it can autonomously decide to make decisions for you. But, OpenAI sort of pushing their operator feature in ChatGPT, or at least the pro version. And they're saying, oh, look, you get your agent to go off and do the research for your holiday. And if it finds the right one, you can just give it your credit card and it'll go and book it for you. It's like, what?
Oh, yeah.
Am I handing my credit card over to my AI agent?
To an AI? No.
So if you've got an avatar or an AI agent, is the issue of biases still a concern? Let's say you have an AI avatar representing you in 10 meetings a week. What happens if that AI avatar suddenly starts spouting, right-wing propaganda out of the blue?
Well, in principle, if we take, say, the 11 Labs kind of conversation voice agent as the example, so when you're creating it, you obviously have the opportunity to kind of tell it, here's how I want you to behave. So the extent to which the AI will kind of obey the system prompt or the context that's provided to it before it goes out there. But again, how could you possibly foretell or foresee, you might have told it explicitly, look, these are all the things I don't want to talk about, but who knows? Because fundamentally behind it all is a probabilistic AI system. There's all that stuff recently with Claude, because there was that research paper that caused a bit of a stir, wasn't it? That so the researchers at Claude, while they're testing the new version of Claude 4, so one of the examples was where the researcher was talking to Claude and then sort of suggested that it wanted Claude to help him develop a biological weapon. I think that was what it was. And Claude was like, well, that's not hard. That's wrong. So Claude apparently independently then tried to find the email address of the kind of whistleblowing agency to kind of email it to say, hey, this guy's developing a bioweapon. And then the other one was where the researcher pretended to Claude that he was cheating on his wife. And Claude tried to find the guy's wife's email address to basically...
No.
Yes.
No.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. Yes.
That's awful.
Yes.
More ethical than a human being.
When you have that and you consider, if it's just, that's bad enough, just one agent. But imagine when people start talking about, hey, you can have literally armies of agents out there on your behalf doing all this stuff for you. It's like, yeah, but blimey, now there's like gazillions of them or in fact, there's going to be more AI agents on the internet, on the web. In fact, that's another aspect of all this as well, that when you're building a website today, you're building it for a human being or you're building it for an agent. Because an agent, or some people are saying it's already happening, that an AI agent is more likely to visit your website than a human being, because a human's gone.
I think that's fake news. I think that's fake news.
I can't be bothered. So I've sent my agent off to do stuff, and therefore the agent's turned up. So how do you make the website attractive to the agent? And again, from a, SEO is kind of already sort of being completely kind of overturned.
I wonder if GA would be able to distinguish an agent visiting a website versus a human visiting a website, because
probably not.
It becomes two tiers of web traffic, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Two segments. Yes, human and versus agent.
The term agent makes me think of the Matrix, and what's the agent called in that? Mr. Anderson, Agent Smith. Ironically,
Agent Smith.
There you go. And you related.
Oops. Oops. My cover's blown.
We've gone really technical, but agents, we haven't really explained what the difference between, all the other models, but agents and what they can do, and some practical examples of what they can do. Yeah. Can you just give us some in a market?
Okay. Yeah, I'll be brief. So I think you should distinguish between automation and agents. So with automation, your basis is a set of rules that I want the tool to slavishly follow. Don't deviate. That's it. Agents is this whole idea of that there's a degree of autonomy, as in I tell the agent to go and do something, but I'm kind of leaving it up to the agent to figure out for itself how to go about executing that task. So deep research is a simple form of AI agent. Go off and research this client's marketplace. Okay. It's going to go onto the web. Where does it decide which websites does it choose to go and look at? Well, it figures it out. It figures out, I'm going to go here and here and here and here and here. And it decides what information it will use or won't use, and kind of brings it back. And we expand that to, literally any task. So, I don't know if you've tried Manus, which is one of the kind of tools that have emerged this year. So it's a kind of a tool that allows you to kind of effectively build your own AI agents. So you go to Manus and say, hey, this is what I want. I'd like you to not only go off and research this kind of client's marketplace, but once you've done that, bring back the report, then use that report as the basis for generating a slide presentation. And you literally brief it, click the button, and go off and do something else. Make a cup of tea or get on with something else. And, an hour later, it might report back and say, oh, I've done it now. And you're going to go and look at it. It's delivered back to you. But then you can just see, it'll show you, here's what I did. Here's the process. Here's where I went. Here's what I did. Here's the tools that I used. And I think that's got kind of clawed in the background as the kind of the AI component. But that is a mix of both, kind of AI plus automation tools plus other supplementary tools that are there that the AI can sort of say, hey, to do that, I should be using this particular tool. To do that, I should be using this particular tool. So yeah, in a sense, there's kind of no limit to what you could construct agents to do for you. It's not quite agentry, but you've also seen the rise of this concept of vibe coding. Andrea Kapathi came up with this in February. So, hey, would it be great if I had a little app that just did this for me? But I'm not a programmer, and there's no way I could afford to pay a developer to do it, and it'll take too long anyway. So forget it. Tools like Google Firebase Studio, you go in and say, here's the app I want. It goes, great. I'll build a prototype for you. What? It's like you watch it writing the code, and it comes back and says,
crazy.
That is literally nonsense. So from a marketing perspective, I think it's very interesting where I'm sure we all had it. We sat there one day going, oh God, wouldn't it be great if there was just an app just for me that just did what I want, but now you can literally brief a tool like that to at least go off and, build a little working prototype. And who knows, after 10 minutes, you might have something that it's not going to write it's not going to build an enterprise app, but that kind of low level, simple stuff that historically would be a lovely idea, but you'd never do it. And now the ability to potentially build those sort of little sort of supportive apps that help you do what you need to do. I think that's quite cool.
Do you think it could, so just so I can understand this, do you think you could run an agent and say, assess this market, look at this, assess my market, how does our website sit in that market? What's missing off our website and in our design that would make us stand out, look at the points of difference, and then create, then code me a WordPress website based on that brief.
I can hear your brain ticking, Chris.
Yeah, he knows me very well.
If you look at, we'll go, Manus will give you 3,000 credits for free to start to have a play around with it. So you might just give it that as a brief and see how it gets on. I think at the moment though, one of the kind of gating factors is, how long can the agent kind of go on for before it kind of like sort of conks out or just kind of doesn't know where to go next. So there's no kind of limitation on sort of giving it sort of a really complicated sort of workflow, which might in the real world might take a human being sort of hours to execute. But then again, Claude, I think they reported that they've seen some of their Claude agents work continuously for 7 hours at a stretch. So the agent goes off and keeps going, does its thing, and 7 hours later comes back. So that kind of task of do this. Yeah, we're not, well, in a sense, it's kind of already here, just unevenly distributed.
Does that mean that the agent worked for 7 hours non-stop and then it's taken its like lunch hour at the end of the day? Is that why it's done that?
I think it's
working flexi time. I could talk to you for hours about this. I love this subject matter.
I mean, each time it's equally fascinating.
If people want to get hold of you or your AI avatar, how can they get hold of you?
And how can they spot the difference?
Well, quite. Because my avatar always self-declares it's an avatar. I think that's an ethical thing to do at this point in time. Easiest place to find me is LinkedIn, actually. Search for Andrew Bruce Smith. There is only one Andrew Bruce Smith on LinkedIn. So, that's where I, typically post stuff these days and or my company website, escherman.com. But yeah, either one of those will find me. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thanks for coming on the show again, Andrew. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for that.